All right. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest is Dr. Brice Noonan, truly unique, someone who has successfully blended his career in science and also his career in entrepreneurship seamlessly.
That's right. Today we're joined by Dr. Brice Noonan. He is a associate professor of biology here at this university. He's also the co-founder of Genteal. So we're very thankful and glad today to have this fantastic guest. So thank you for agreeing to this, Dr. Noonan. It's a fantastic opportunity. We've had some other professors and athletes on here and hope to continue that expansion in the future. So super fun, pumped for this podcast. We're going to go and delve into the academic background and passion side. So I guess we can just start off at the beginning a little bit. What brought you here to Ole Miss, and how has your journey as professor looked so far?
Yeah, so I grew up wanting to work with reptiles and amphibians, study these things, and travel, explore remote parts of the globe that I've been to. So that started out with me going to the University of Florida, working as an undergraduate researcher in a lab in the Department of Biology there, and then volunteering at the Florida Museum of Natural History, which is on the campus of UF. And there I kind of learned about the business of science, how to be a scientist, how to make yourself marketable, what it takes to get a position as a faculty member in the sciences. And so once I graduated there, I went to the University of Texas, Arlington. So that's a campus in the DFW Metroplex for my graduate work. And it's not a huge school, like prestige-wise, but when you are a biologist, you want to work with a specific person that's doing awesome stuff. And I went there to work with this old school guy that was exploring Mexico and remote regions of Central America and finding crazy things. So yeah. I learned how to do that. I did a lot of travel, spent a lot of time in South America during my graduate work, and then learned that to make myself marketable, I needed to take advantage and help on the train of this genetic revolution. So I started doing a lot of DNA sequence analysis. That took me to a postdoc at BYU and then one at Duke, and I came here from Duke in 2008.
Awesome. That's a fantastic story. So you mentioned you kind of worked in a museum in the past, right, in Florida.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone 2 hours down to Jackson, Mississippi and gone to our Natural Science Museum, or have you made that trip?
Yeah, I've been down there for sure. And so those types of natural history museums, what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of what's going on is actually not available for public display. The part of the museum I work in might be 4 times the size of what you're walking around and seeing, and it's hundreds of thousands of jars of preserved reptiles and amphibians from all over the globe that allow me to study frogs from South America or snakes from Australia, right? Whereas, the public display is outreach, trying to get other, kids interested, have folks understand a little bit more about the animals that are around. So museums kind of serve a dual purpose. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. I have some really good memories of high school and elementary school trips to that museum. It's a fun spot.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's where we're both from. So Madison residents. So.
Yeah. That's one of the most exciting things about Jackson. Yeah. So you teach some pretty fascinating subjects: genetics, herpetology, speciation, some of that stuff. I don't know if I'm pronouncing
evolutionary
it right,
biology. Yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff I just had to look up. So do you have a favorite class? One you're most passionate about? Anything like that?
Yeah. So I think the thing that I'm most interested in, if I go full biology nerd, like I'm really interested in species and where they are and why they are where they are and why there are so many in some places, so few in others. So I really kind of leverage that passion and interest into a study abroad course I teach in the winter session each year. And on occasion, I've done it in the summer as well. So I'll take students abroad to the Caribbean for a couple weeks, and we go out and I teach them why islands are so fascinating, why they have so much unique biodiversity. And it's just something that I find incredibly fascinating. It's super fun.
Yeah. Speaking of that trip, I actually had a bunch of friends go on that trip last Christmas, and I truly hope to make it this upcoming December. So more to come on that. If you decide to go this December, I'll definitely do my best to go there. So, but anyways, his off-campus field trips are kind of legendary around here. There's a lot of talk about how fun it is. I believe it's a 2-week vacation where they're doing biology work, but also having fun, getting to travel to different Caribbean islands. So Dan Shell, Brian Threadgill, 2K friends of mine went on it, and Tori Tullis, one of my good KD friends, and Charlotte Sewell went on there. So Greek life as a whole raised about this trip here. Could you tell us more about what makes this trip special for the students and kind of how they enjoy that environment?
Yeah, I think there are fewer opportunities for students, especially in the sciences, to get this kind of experiential learning. There's a lot of sitting in a classroom watching PowerPoints and listening to a professor talk, and you guys get a lot of that. What you don't get a lot of is getting out there and actually getting your hands on things and seeing the principles that we learn about in classes in person. And so this class actually does that. So we sit through class, we're all reading the same book. We sit and discuss chapters on the days we have class. But then on days when, we jump on a cruise ship, and so when the cruise ship hits a port, so if we're getting off in Cayman Islands today, it's not like we're just going and having margaritas and sitting on the beach all day. We are jumping in a van, and I'm driving you to a place that most tourists don't go, so that you can see some of the endangered species we've learned about in the class, or see some of the unique habitats that make these islands really special places. So I think the students, they appreciate getting out of Oxford or wherever they might be in January, right? Getting into the Caribbean. So the weather's great. It's the buffets on the cruise line, right? It's super easy living and great food and great environment. But then it's a good way to get a good number of upper level bio credits for those bio majors and, learn something that's fun. I get a lot of students that follow up with me years after, right? They'll come see me at a tailgate or they'll email me, and it's 5, 6, 8 years later. They might already be doctors, or they're in medical school, or they're in graduate school. And it's like, hey, I went on vacation to St. Thomas and I saw this, thing that we talked about in class. Or I've had students tell me that they took the MCAT and they're like, hey, I had island biogeography class questions on the MCAT.
Yeah.
And it's these kind of classes, you actually kind of, whether you want to or not, you remember and learn the material better than if you're just sitting there studying for the test.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So this immersive experience is truly something special. I know all the students appreciate a ton getting that real life application, whether that's a medical school or their MCAT, of the certain material that they learn through this trip. Sometimes the hands-on stuff sticks a lot more with you than some lectures. So appreciate that. I know you mentioned the winter break can be kind of long, and so I know it's a big help. Not a bad thing to do a little 2-week vacation during the 6-week intersession. Noah, you had a question?
Yeah, that's got to be really rewarding to get those guys that come back, and it's got to bring you back to teaching.
It's awesome. Yeah, because I don't get people coming to me after taking 160 with me, or they take genetics with me. They don't come and like, hey, I had a question about genetics on the MCAT. No kidding.
Yeah, right.
And they continue learning about these things, but it's not like they're going on vacation and having some experience related to genetics, right? But they might go on a trip and they remember that class and they remember the principles, they remember the animals we learned about, and it's pretty cool.
This kind of similar to my experience with Dr. Hoeksema, another biology professor here. He teaches some birding classes, and I've been in his honors college conversational classes, and so he got us into birding. And sometimes I'll message him about what birds. Some people may think this is strange who aren't biology students, but it's a cool thing if you ever have the chance to get a little binoculars and go birding around. I'm sure you've done it before. You can see some great species, especially in tropical areas. So highly recommend that. It's just a cool thing that me and Dr. Hoeksema have kept up on. So it's another example of this immersive learning that really sticks with you.
Yeah. So you're quite the traveling man. You've been around for research and adventure. What is some of your favorite places? This can be for work or just for fun.
Yeah. So I think some of the most fun I've had. I went over to South Africa when I was a postdoc at BYU. Spent a couple weeks over there, and it was for a conference, but postdoc advisor had contacts there, so we spent a couple weeks going through Kruger National Park on safari. That was incredible. And I've spent months and months in South America, just traipsing around the jungle, sleeping in a hammock, looking for frogs, and riding boats, and motorcycles, and whatever, to get wherever I can. Yeah. So that's fun stuff, right? That's how my work is fun, right? Mm-hmm. I can get out and go do those things. And then my vacation fun stuff is very similar. So jumping in a truck or on a bike and go somewhere.
Yeah, speaking of that, we know Land Cruisers and motorcycles are part of this story too. You're headed to Panama this summer on a motorcycle trip. What's the story there and the idea behind that?
Yeah, so during COVID, my wife and I drove our old Land Cruiser was out of commission. Drove some old Land Rovers into Baja. So we took a month and a half, 2 months to drive down into Baja back, and then wanted to do something like that again, but we've been riding adventure bikes a lot lately. So we're jumping on motorcycles at the end of May and headed down to Panama. So there's some really cool frogs down there I want to work on.
Awesome.
And riding motorcycles down there. So that's a good way to get there.
It's quite the duality. Frogs, sounds like a blast. Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Now moving on to more of the research and impact side. So we looked it up. We did a lot of research beforehand. You have nearly 100 publications and thousands of citations according to the internet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does that sound right?
It's probably close to 100.
Yeah.
That's a fair number.
That's what the internet told us. So that's incredible, obviously. Your research journey began at Florida or earlier on during your undergraduate career. Was it something you fell in love with during undergrad? And I know you touched on this earlier a little bit, but was it something about that lab and maybe your advisor who really interested you and kept you in the field?
Yeah, I think it was. It's interesting because there wasn't anybody at University of Florida doing what I was interested in, right? I kind of naively just wanted to go to the jungle and find new species, right? And I got to do that later, but at Florida, the only guy working on reptiles and amphibians was a physiologist, and I was like, okay, physiology, fine, that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do, right? So I did some research. We were able to publish some of that work, and that helped me as I moved forward in my career. It was a great head start, right? Getting that, even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, I was learning the ropes. I was learning to understand the research machine and how that works. So yeah, it was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. One of your most recognized studies on frogs, it was on the color variation in poison dart frogs. It's quoted in multiple peer-reviewed journals, PNAS, New York Times. Can you break that down for us in a way that students might appreciate?
Yeah. So students that take my intro bio class or my evolution class they know exactly where I'm going with this. But basically, the species of frogs that I'm interested in are the bright colored poison frogs, poison arrow frogs, poison dart frogs you might see on calendars.
Yeah.
The brightest, most amazing colored things. And the crazy thing is, a single species, when I go in the jungle, and if I'm in the jungle right here, they might be solid blue with black spots. But I go, maybe as far as Water Valley, right, from here. And instead of blue with black spots, they're black with yellow stripes. It's like, why is that? It's the same species. And they're poisonous. And the reason they have that coloration is presumably so animals will recognize them and not eat them. But it's really weird for me as an evolutionary biologist to think of, why are these blue and these have yellow stripes, right? Shouldn't they all be the same so the predators recognize them as being the same thing and don't try to eat them? They know they're poisonous. And so I've spent a lot of time studying how that differentiation has evolved, all the factors that are involved there. And it's a deep well, and I'm still digging.
Yeah. Sounds like I don't know. There could be lots of explanations, and
There are a lot of factors playing in there. We're just trying to tease them all apart.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So one thing I remember from 2.5 years ago in my this 160 class is that Dr. Smula, shout out Dr. Smula, she talked a lot about poison dart frogs, and that was a huge topic of research, it seems like, in Ole Miss biology. So that's just a cool topic, I guess, a variety of professors work on here. So, but kind of changing more to our Greek life side. So what's your perspective on how fraternity and sorority life intersects with your experience as a professor and maybe even personally? So I don't know if you have any personal relationships with students in our Greek life program, but we represent about 48% of the school, and I'm sure you may not know, but most of the students coming through your classes are in the fraternities or sororities. So do you have any personal experiences on that level?
Yeah, it's interesting because, in my educational path, it wasn't a big deal, right? Like my parents didn't go to college, right? So I had no familial preparation or understanding of what I was getting into when I went to college. And, I didn't know what fraternities were or sororities were. And at Florida at that time, so this is the mid 90s, early 90s, I saw the pikes on the yard, like flexing as I drive by. That's what they had to do. But I didn't know what the hell was going on. Right. So, but when I got to the University of Mississippi, it was clear that this is a big part of the culture here, right? Mm-hmm. And so I did spend a couple years as the chair of the faculty senate. And in that role, I worked pretty closely with a number of the folks associated with the student governance. Yeah. And the folks associated with fraternities and Pentellenic societies. And so it was a pretty interesting learning curve for me to kind of navigate the landscape where this is, it's a huge part of the culture on this campus. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly made for some interesting experiences for me and allowed me to, expand the reach of some of the things I'm doing. It certainly facilitates spreading the word about my island biogeography class, right?
Yeah.
Some of your fraternity brothers taken in my class tell you about it, right? So it's an interesting dynamic on this campus because it is so prevalent.
Yeah, and our fraternity members, like he mentioned, we like to take similar classes to help each other out and be involved in the same interest group with a certain subject. So that's definitely a big appeal towards our Greek life side. Now switching more towards the Genteal side, I know Noah actually worked with Brice Noonan's Genteal side. There's a lot of fraternity men who work with Genteal. My old roommate Seth Ivy last year, he worked at one of the Genteal factories, and he's a KA with me. So a lot of fraternity men supporting, consuming, and helping this company produce stuff. So just love to talk about that. And Noah, I know you want to switch gears and talk a little bit more about that.
Moving away from science into the impressive clothing brand that you built, Genteal Apparel. So how did this idea first come about?
I get asked that a lot, and it was, I've always been kind of entrepreneurial and reading lots of entrepreneurial magazines like Entrepreneur Inc., those kinds of things, just following these stories of its founders and how these success stories were built. And I kept seeing these stories about these different brands that would come, rise, grow, and do amazingly well. And I really thought there was space in the market for another brand. It turns out that market's crowded and it's tough to carve out space. But Genteal's managed to do that reasonably well since our founding. So I knew that I had the idea, and I've traveled a lot. I had a good way to connect with factories and source those materials and identify ways that we could bring in top-notch products. But I have no background in business itself, right? And so I found my co-founder, Blake Dubinsky, who was also a faculty member in the School of Business for a couple of years. He stepped away recently. But I found him, and we worked together and got this thing going.
Yeah. Impressive.
It is. The brand's really taken off. It's available in hundreds of retail stores, and it was even ranked as Mississippi's #1 fastest growing company. So can you walk us through the conception in 2016, I believe, and where it is now, I guess, and because it is ranked as #1 in Mississippi, which is a huge ordeal.
Yeah, so it was one of the fastest growing companies in Mississippi. It's been in the top 5 for the past few years.
Wow.
I think we lost to Mama Justice one year, but
what does Mama Justice do?
She's that attorney. She's on the billboards. Have you not seen Mama
I've
Justice?
seen that.
I've not seen that.
Yeah. Hilarious. That was funny.
Mama Justice.
But anyhow, the growth has been very satisfying. It's been awesome. It's been a pretty difficult road to hoe, like making these inroads with retailers. You go to a store and hey, we made some cool shirts. You want to sell these? And you're like, I have no idea.
Like getting into Nielsen's and getting into Hidden all those
right,
stores.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's brutal.
It's tough. Yeah.
That was definitely one of the hardest parts, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of tough. But the idea was to produce products that really high quality. The main thing is I didn't want these to be things that were you spend a lot of money on a shirt and then a month later you see it 60, 70% off, 80% off, right? Like that's really disheartening and frustrating. And what it means is somebody's probably buying stuff really cheap.
Yeah.
Marking it up really high and then blowing it out when they need to get rid of it. So the idea was to produce the best quality we could, something that was a bit more mature than some of the other competitors in the market, and something that might resonate a bit more with the customer base.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was that target customer base that y'all had starting out, I guess?
More Southern culture, I guess, with the duck.
Yeah, but we didn't want to limit it to Southern culture, right? Because there was Southern this and Southern that. There were so many Southerns out there, right? So the name Genteal came about because you've been herding with folks, right? So blue-winged teals. I was thinking about that and having conversations with folks, and that word Genteal, not spelled with an A, but with 2 E's. It means something to folks, especially in this region, right? It means, it's like a well-mannered person, well-dressed, and so we've got something that's not just some random name. It's not my name. It's not some random word or Southern X. It's a word that means something. So the idea is if wearing this brand, you're wearing something that should represent you well. You should be presenting yourself well for any situation, whether you're going to work, whether you're going to church, whether you're going to visit your parents or potentially your future parent-in-laws, right? It should cover you well. So that's kind of the idea.
Would certainly accomplish that job, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say while we're still talking about conception, what were some of those toughest challenges you faced early on when launching Genteal, and how'd you get through them?
Yeah, I think the thing that is hardest is figuring out, all right, you've got a great idea, and you see these shows like Shark Tank, right? And you see people going and pitching their ideas to Shark Tank, and those guys are literal sharks, right? They're trying to get as much as they can for the money they're giving. But the idea is, oh, if I have a great idea, I can go out there and get money to fund it. It's a lot harder to find that financial support to get off the ground. So, you're doing that on your own to get started until you got proof of concept that shows, whatever financial backers you're able to find that it's worth putting money into.
Certainly. Did you ever consider going on Shark Tank, or was that ever in there?
Man, no, not the way they go after.
They're vicious.
They take so much, and I don't think for this brand, the idea for this brand is that it's a higher level brand. It's not something I want to see on QVC, right? I don't want it to be in Dick's Sporting Goods. So the idea is, if you go there, they don't care about the brand. They want it everywhere.
Maximum scaling, yeah.
All about profit.
Yeah. And I don't mind profit, right? That'd be great.
But not
at the expense of the brand, right?
There you go.
It's kind of off topic, but at what point did y'all decide to start licensing to colleges? Like, I've seen a ton of Ole Miss, Genteal stuff, and I'm sure other schools in the SEC have it. When did y'all start to think, hey, we should probably do this?
So, wanted to do it from very early stage, but it's not up to us whether we get to do it. It's the school has to approve us to do it, right? And they charge, like, we pay every Genteal shirt that we make that has Ole Miss on it. Money gets paid to the university, right? And deservedly so, right? We're using their name, their brand, and it's helping us sell product. They make money off of it. So it's something that we've been pursuing. But the schools, if I'm in 5 stores, right? If I'm in Landry's and some of the other stores in the States, I'm in 5 stores in Mississippi. I come to Ole Miss and ask them if I can put their logo on a shirt. They're going to tell me no. Right? They're very selective, and they should be, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to see Ole Miss on just some random shirt at a flea market, right?
Yeah. We're getting more into that Ole Miss conversation. I know Genteal recently, within the last year, I believe, partnered with the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation to support the Vault Society. That's a pretty big deal for our athletic program here, and we've certainly seen the impact. Can you share more about that collaboration and what it means to you to partner with our athletic side?
Yeah, and so that's been something that my business partner Blake has driven, and what we've done, we've worked with Ole Miss Athletics for quite a while, but it's been a really beneficial relationship for both sides. But the idea is that both Blake and I have a strong connection to the university. He got his degrees here, both undergrad and MBA, and it's a way for us to get back to the university, and by partnering with them, we can help them provide things to their donors, to their alumni. It's just been great for both sides. I mean, they've been helpful, to be honest, for us getting licenses with other universities, right?
Yeah.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
And we both greatly enjoy working with the athletics department, but Blake's been doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
We've done it very closely.
Is it other SEC universities you're in collaboration with, or is this?
Oh yeah. We have licenses with quite a few now. Some of them are pretty tough to get. Georgia's a tough nut. Crack.
Yeah.
A couple other nut.
Hey, but once it's
Especially after that win this year.
Yeah, I know my dad's in the Voss Society, and I have last year's Voss Society T-shirt in my closet actually. It's a nice, it's a good looking shirt.
Yeah.
So developing these products that people love, but that also are high quality. I mean, that's no small feat. So what does that process look like at Genteal, kind of moving from concept to store shelf?
Yeah. So the way it works is we got folks, got a 2-person design team with a couple outsourced folks that contribute to that design that really determine, all right, in the fall 26 right now, they're working on fall 26. What are we going to make for fall 26 that's new patterns, new garments? So those designs are decided, and got to communicate with the factory sources where those are going to be made, get prototypes, get samples, and we go show them to our retailers, right?
Yeah.
All right, this is what we're going to make in fall 26. And if they decide that they think this shirt is hideous and nobody wants to buy it, well, then I'm not going to make it, right? But and we order it, it gets shipped over here, we pay tariffs on it, and then it's here and we sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you scaled, and we've mentioned some of the difficulties so far with getting into these retail businesses, what's been the hardest lesson you've learned about growing a business? Is it just being able to face rejection from some people and then still go back towards selling a product, or what have you learned the most sort of from this?
Yeah, I think it's just persistence and following the vision, right? The idea is to just make really good stuff and not try to be the cheapest, not try to be the one that has the most different things, but just make really solid product that is true to our brand, and that's been critical. There's been a lot of rejection, a lot of stores that we wanted to be in that for years would not order our stuff, but that we're in now, and there's still ones we're chasing. Right? It's not like we've conquered the world.
Yeah.
Cracked every door.
So would you say that differentiation strategy where you're striving for the highest quality product, would that be like the biggest thing that moved the needle for Genteal? I mean, I'm sure it was tempting at some point to sell out and go a little lower quality and then give it to Walmart or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. No.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that could be done, but I think I don't think that that's a piece I would want to manage, or that either of us would want to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, the image of Genteal and the brand they've created is, something that Noonan could harp about. Dr. Noonan could harp about all day. Is it's really special, and it's something that sets them apart. Is they care more about their quality and their image than selling out. So we appreciate that a ton as consumers of the product. I know Noah and I sure both own a ton of Genteal wear, so that's awesome to hear. So, but business isn't always smooth sailing. How did you stay motivated during periods of uncertainty and when things got tough? Kind of what helped y'all stay in the strong path during hard times with business?
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely uncertain times. I mean, we worked through COVID, right? COVID was
I bet that was brutal.
the most uncertain of times, right? And
Yeah.
it's things have gotten a little bit wild of late as well, right? With the uncertainty with the international sourcing, and so it's just staying true to we're just going to keep making good things, and if we keep making good things, then people are going to buy them, right? And if we put a lot of effort into design, like I said, Blake's in charge of running that design program right now, that if we make good things, if they're designed well, if they fit the market, right? If we are hitting what people are looking for, then they're going to move, and that will allow us to survive things like COVID or things like these, challenges we're facing today.
Yeah,
It's awesome to hear.
absolutely. So looking ahead, do we have any long-term goals for Genteal that you can disclose? Any newer, exciting products,
We should keep
projects,
an eye out for.
new releases?
Yeah, no, I think the fun stuff is always, there's only so much you can do in the spring, right? Lightweight polos, shorts, swim trunks. Those swim trunks are amazing. If you haven't tried the new swim trunks, they're incredible.
I have not. We need
I
to.
boxed up many of swim trunks in my spring work. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have new ones since you were working there, so it's been redesigned, and they are incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, but the real fun stuff comes in the winter. Like, there are so many cool coats and outerwear pieces that you can add that bring so much character. That's when.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
people
what
just
gets
wear
really
more clothes in the winter. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
makes the clothes
exactly.
great.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that actually.
Close.
Yeah. So starting to wrap it up for any students, listeners, thinking about launching their own product, their own business. What's your biggest piece of advice there?
Yeah, I would say think through, you know your market, who you're targeting, what your target market is, and how you're going to fill a role, fill a niche, a gap in that market. And you know, it doesn't have to be a real broad opening, right? And if you listen to entrepreneurial podcasts or read books, you'll hear people use the term niche down. You want to focus on this core customer base that can be really narrow. The more specific and narrow you are, potentially the more insulated or isolated you are from competition, right? So it really takes having a focused idea that has multiple stages. How can you grow, right? If if I'm gonna make Ole Miss t-shirts, right? Land Shark t-shirts, and start selling those. Maybe I sell a bunch of those, right? I have the coolest t-shirt designs, but how do I scale that, right? I can only sell to so many Ole Miss students that want t-shirts or alumni that want t-shirts. I've got to figure out how to make t-shirts that I can sell at State and Georgia and Tennessee and Arkansas and all those other places, right? So, and knowing that there is a market that you can serve and how you can do that, I think that's critical.
Certainly. So finally, looking back on your journey, both academic and entrepreneurial, are there any moments you're especially proud of or anything you wish you would have done differently given where you're at right now in life?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with where things are.
As it should be.
It's been fun. Yeah, I've had fun with both. I think the high points have been. I'm really glad I came here. I could have gone to 2 schools in Texas or here, and I was pretty sick of Texas after being at UTA. So decided to come here, and I'm pretty glad I did. Our family loves being here in the Oxford area, as most people do once they come to visit.
Yeah.
And starting the company, it was a lot for a long time, but I'm glad I did it. It was fun. It's been a good time.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for your time. We should have our Ole Miss starting quarterback for next year on our podcast, so be looking into that, as well as Professor Corbin and some new professors who are involved with fraternity life on campus. Dr. Noonan, we can't thank you enough for your time here today. Super special guest, and yeah, thank you guys for listening.